time to learn again. Math time. We are learning and jumping into our clock, identifying time by the hour. So as mentioned, today our I can statement is I can identify time by the hour. I want you guys to repeat that now. I can identify time by the hour. Awesome job. So yesterday we dove into what the clock was. We spoke about the attributes or characteristics that we can use to identify an analog clock or a digital clock. Yes, an analog clock. So when we started to talk about the analog clock, I want you to think right now about what are some attributes that the analog clock has. How can I identify an analog clock? Let's think. Now I want you to share either by whispering in your hand or by telling someone who is around you. What are two things that you can mention about an analog clock? So if I wanted to describe an analog clock, I would say that it has one or two hands. Awesome. If you said two hands, you are correct. Has two hands. If I was looking at my analog clock, not only would I say that it has two hands, but how many numbers does it have? Does it have 5 numbers, 10 numbers, or 12 numbers? Perfect. If you said 12, kiss your brain. It has 12. So, as we mentioned, it has 12 numbers. Another thing that we learned yesterday was that an hour has how many minutes in it? Right, 60 minutes in 1 hour. So that means that our analog clocks also have 60 lines. If you said that, kiss your brain. And then the last thing that we learned yesterday was that usually the majority of analog clocks are in the shape of a, you guessed it, circle. Awesome job. So these were the attributes or the characteristics that we learned yesterday of an analog clock. This is the way that we can identify. Say it with me, identify. These are the different ways that we can identify an analog clock. Now when we look at our I can statement, there's a word that I boxed in. That word is hour. What is the word? Awesome job. We've been talking yesterday and briefly today that in an hour there are 60 minutes. Now for a bonus question, which hand on my clock is the hour hand? Is it the blue hand, or as we like to call it, the long hand, or the red one, the short hand? Which one is it, long or short? Awesome job. If you said the short hand, you are correct. The short hand is our hour hand. Which one is our hour hand? Yes, the short hand is our hour hand. Perfect. That means that our long hand is our minute hand. Awesome job. I want to jump into our definition box. Before we get into that, let's remember what we're talking about. Identifying time by the hour. So I think that we already know what our first definition word is going to be. Yes, hour. Now, how would I define an hour? Well, we have to think about what makes an hour and also what represents or shows. So shows another word for represents an hour. Well, we know that in an hour there are how many minutes? How many? I didn't hear you. Oh, 60 minutes. Yes. 60 minutes And we also know that our long hand represents our hour. No, our short hand. And last, we know that it needs to be a number either 1 through 12. What numbers? 1 through 12. Awesome job. What's another word that we can put in our definition box? Well, we want to make sure that we know exactly what kind of clock we're talking about. So, are we talking about a digital clock? No, no digital clock. We are talking about a wall clock, a cell phone clock. No, an analog clock. I knew you knew it. And we define our analog clock as a clock that has 2 hands, 12 numbers, and 60 lines. Awesome job. Our definition box is finished. So today when you guys are doing your independent work, what you guys are going to be working on is identifying time by the hour. So you're going to have different question sets that are going to show you 3 different clocks. And on that clock is going to show you time by the hour. Now, are we talking about minutes today? We're not talking about minutes today. So when you go back to your work, you're going to notice that the minute hand is always going to point at the 12. The reason why the minute hand points at the 12 is because that lets us know that there are no minutes in the hour. We're starting a brand new hour. So if we looked at our time, which number is my hour hand pointing to? Is my hour hand pointing to the 12 or to the 5? Yes, it's pointing to the 5. So we would say that this is 5 o'clock because we have no minutes because it's pointing at the 12 of my minute hand. Okay, what if I was to do this? What time is it showing now? Well, my minute hand is always going to be on the 12 when we're talking about a new hour. So now I'm going to focus on my hour hand. My hour hand is pointing at which number? Yes, the number 9. So we would say that this is 9:12. No? Oh, we would say that it is 12:09. Wrong again. Okay, this time I'm really going to get it. We would say that it is 12 o'clock. This is the minute hand, not the hour hand. I should be looking at the shorthand to tell me the hour. So I would say that it is, yes, 9 o'clock. Awesome job. So the question is asking me, which clock shows 1 o'clock? Which clock shows 1 o'clock? Well, if I look at all 3 of my clocks, I'm sorry that they're small, I do see that my long hand is pointing at the 12. So I know that there are no minutes in any of these times. My next thing that I should be doing is looking at the shorthand to see which number it is pointing at. Well, if I look closely at this one, the shorthand is pointing at the 6. So because the shorthand, or as we like to call it, the hour hand is pointing at the 6, I know that it is 6 o'clock. Is 6 o'clock the same as 1 o'clock? No. So it can't be that one. Then I'm going to move to the next one. If I look very closely, I'll see that my minute hand is pointing at the 12. So that's right. And then I'm going to check. Is my hour hand, or the short one, pointing at the 1? Uh-oh. Nothing pointing at the 1. But it is pointing at the 3. What time is it? Yes, 3 o'clock. Is that my answer? Am I looking for 3 o'clock? No, I am not. Won't be that one. Let's check the last one. My itty bitty circle. So if I look very closely, I see that the minute hand is pointing at the 12. And then my hour hand is pointing at the, yes, number 1. So if my hour hand points at the 1, then I know that the time is 1 o'clock. So my answer would have been the last clock. That is what you guys are going to be doing on your independent work. Remember, the minute hand always points at the 12 when we're in a brand new hour, and the hour hand points at the number. The hour hand makes you say its name. It is 9 o'clock. Bonus. Let's see who can get it. What about if we saw something like this? Peekaboo. The hour hand is there. My minute hand is at the 12. So if it's pointing at the 12, I would say, yes, 12 o'clock. The hour hand makes you say the number. The hour hand makes you say the... Awesome job. Good luck, guys. I know you're going to crush it.